In favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Regular business. For consideration and possible action on the 5-year combined capital improvement plan in 2019 bonding. And the reason that we are here today is that we looked at this at the last finance meeting and we decided if we were going to need to cut things, we wanted to have more time to hear an explanation from each of the directors. We wanted other alders to be involved with that. We didn't just want to bring it forward to council with just the 4 of us making all of those decisions. So when we left the meeting last week, my understanding was the directors were going to meet together. They were possibly going to meet with the mayor as well and talk about, what are the needs, what are the wants, what are their recommendations if things need to be cut. And so I assume that's what happened. Did you want to go over, Diane, the background on the citywide capital improvement plan just briefly?
I can, yes. The City of Green Bay has, each department has been doing a capital improvement plan, but we haven't been pulling it comprehensive together, at least not for many, many years. And so we tend to take a 1 year at a time shot and just borrow and look at really 1 year at a time. So a recommendation was that, and that was time to put a 5-year plan back together. So this year we started putting the 5-year plan together. We didn't bring you a 2019 borrowing request until we had a 5-year look at it. It's still a draft and we are certainly working through the process. So what you have in front of you is our first draft. What it is also is a request by the department heads. There has not been any changes. It's been exactly how the department heads have requested it, so that it gave everybody a look at what was requested. Now, to keep in mind that these are items that most of the department heads feel that they need now, that we can put into a bonding request. One thing that the mayor has been asking each department head is, what about we actually have another supplemental list of items that are really big picture items that we're not even including in this list, and that includes some things like more upgraded infrastructure, a public safety building, upgrades to Fire Station 3, demoing the Main Street ramp, parking the parks, a lot of paving going on, deferred maintenance, community center. I mean, there's a lot of other big needs that aren't even in this request, so we have that list on the side, but we are not actually here to talk about those items at this time. What I suggested maybe to Alder Dorff is, at this point it is a 5-year plan in front of us. It's a lot of information. I think our emphasis is maybe to start looking at the 2019 borrowing bonding request column. I think it might make sense to kind of go right in order as in the packet. And that way we can have the department heads just go through every item in 2019 so that the department can say what it's used for, maybe what's its useful life, is it a new item or is it a replacement, did you take salvage value out of the cost of it, again, is it, as Alder Galvin had asked, is it a must-have, is it a really, really want type of item, and so that would be one way of systematically kind of going through the list. And then we can see where we're at. The goal is to be done, at least take a break at 5:30 so everyone can either get a bite to eat or get up and stretch a little before the 6 o'clock council meeting.
Right, thank you. And I think that is a good idea because this is a long document and we want to make sure people can follow along with it. So when you're talking about your project, I think we're going to start on page 1 of the, there's kind of 2 page ones if you go down. It doesn't change ever. No, yeah. So page 1, first of all, it talks about the funding sources, general levy, etc., and then equipment, general levy, fleet. But I think, would you agree that we should talk about major capital project summary by year? Is that a good place to start? Okay, I see some nods in the crowd. All right, so DPW, looks like you are up first. Go ahead, Director Grenier.
Well,
you have to talk into your microphone. It's not even on, but it will be. I'm sure it will be. There it is. Presently. Okay.
The 6 or so, 7 items that are listed under DPW for 2019, all of them are critical, with the exception of extra pavement project per CC for a value of $500,000. I know that was something that the council is wanting to put in with the intent of helping us to get additional projects done. But the truth is, there is no way we're ever going to spend that money in 2019. We are programmed up for the year, and we are operating short engineers again. So if we're looking for what our needs for this year are, that $500,000 is definitely not needed because we're not going to spend it. So that would be, you know, I know one of the things we've talked about is for the 2019 borrowing, trying to shave about $1.3 million off. That's a quick $500,000.
Okay, any comments from the committee?
Other than that, everything that we show, those the $3.4 million worth of levy supported borrowing, that's for our projects that were in the 2019 capital program that the council already approved, as well as those smaller dollar items for the garages that was also listed within the capital improvement program. And the east and west side shops are used quite heavily each day. Those facility needs are very real needs. That's not wants. All
right, and then fire, and there wasn't a total.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Director Bruner, 2020, 21, 22, 23, you have no other capital projects monies requested other than for pavement projects. There's no way you could take any of these and spread those out over those next 4 years. The DPW, let me see, WS shop exterior tuck pointing.
The tuck pointing is actually, that money is actually being redirected into repair of the parapet wall on the top of the west side garage. I've got masonry falling off into the yard right now.
So this document is inaccurate. Instead of tuck pointing, we're bonding, you want us to bond $100,000 to fix the wall.
The document is dynamic and living. The intent was to do the tuck pointing, which is also necessary, which we're going to be coming back in future years. But as we were up getting ready to do the tuck pointing, chunks of the masonry started falling off, and we decided we should probably do that instead.
How much does that, I mean, are there other things in this document where you've got it listed as one thing and something has come up and it's going to be intended for another thing?
That's the only one that we have in our list.
Okay, then I guess I would ask, why aren't you including $100,000 for tuck pointing in 2020 or 2021 or something like that?
Because we don't have an estimate on what the wall repairs are going to cost. We know it's going to be less than $100,000. So we're going to get estimates on what the wall repairs are, and the balance of the money will continue to go towards the tuck pointing. Once we've done that, we'll be able to estimate what our needs are for the future.
Does this go on a lot?
This is one of the problems that we've had in putting together a 5-year program. The needs are continuously changing.
Well, we understand. I understand that. I mean, it's just like at anybody's home, things change. But I guess it just seems you have all these things for this year and then nothing for the next 4 years of a 5-year plan. I mean, so you've identified nothing else that you see that needs to be bonded for under major capital projects?
Not at this time. No, we haven't. We're going to be going through a building evaluation again this winter to determine what those needs are, but we don't have them at this time.
When was the last time that was done?
Oh, probably about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever we did the building evaluations.
Okay, and are there anything else here under major capital projects that you look at to review or set up? I mean, is it because you didn't have enough time to look at projects for the next 5 years, or this is just what you see right now?
This is what we see right now, and staff is busy doing what they're doing. If the council wants me to sit down and go through and do the building evaluation needs right now, we can do that, but that means I'm pulling staff off of other things which are tasked with getting projects out the door right now. We are down to bare bones as far as staffing needs, and everybody is busy doing things. So I'm going to have to pull operations staff off of doing pothole repair, doing crack repair, doing garbage and brush collection, fixing vehicles with my mechanics, doing sewer work, so that they can come in and take care of some of these other items. I will have to take engineers off of design of infrastructure projects to take a look at some of these capital needs. That's something we were planning on doing in slower times, but if you want it done now, we can pull the guys off and do it now.
I'm not saying, so, I mean, I don't want to spiral too far off topic, but when we put this request out here for a 5-year capital improvement project, how long ago was that we put out that request? Barb, I don't remember exactly.
Probably 9 months.
9 months ago?
I think like 9 months.
And I guess we were hoping that by this time we would have something, you know, and granted, everything's fluid, but I think we were hoping that we would have something a little bit more concrete from everybody here so that we can make a decision. Because if you're telling me you have to do a infrastructure of your buildings thing this winter when times are slow, then that means everything we're doing here right now as far as DPW could just be up in the wind. And this $8 million that we're looking to try and get the bonding down to is just, it's false. Because you could be coming back with millions of dollars in repairs or changes for your buildings. And so I guess I'm a little frustrated because we have yet to go through fire, parks, and police yet. And we were hoping, I was hoping, we'd have some firm numbers here tonight so we could make some good decisions going forward, that if we have to make cuts, we're the best place to make those cuts are, or if we're not going to make it, that we can justify why we're not making it. And I understand you have staffing problems. Everyone has people that are leaving their departments and everything, but I mean, are you being impacted unusually so, or is it that you've been running on a skeleton crew for the last 4 or 5 years?
I believe we are. Yes. I think that's a very accurate statement.
Running on a skeleton crew?
Yes. We operate substantially below what our published numbers are, and I think we have one of the largest service lines within the city. I think we are tasked incredibly thin to try to accomplish the work that we are intending to do. And I do think things like this suffer as a result of that.
Thank you.
Alder Lefebvre?
So you do a 5-year rotation. That's when you basically do all your building inspections and
Building needs on an annual. The intent is to go out and do a longer range plan, but we need time to do that.
right to pull people off now. It's going to take how long just to do that?
That I don't know.
So, Director Grenier, I know that, I think you understand that the idea was to have a 5-year plan. And this is something that we haven't done before. Obviously, this is the first time we've had this kind of a meeting to look at that. So this is probably the hardest year to start doing it like this. Do you foresee that maybe by next year you would have more things filled in for 21, 22, 23? Is it
coming into this? I didn't realize that all other departments were going to go to this level of detail. Okay. What my understanding of this was my contribution to the 5-year capital improvement plan was primarily dedicated to infrastructure, so that's where we concentrated our efforts. Not necessarily to the building repairs and things that were needed for DPW. And again, as I stated at the last meeting, we don't have our equipment listed in here because typically our equipment has been handled through the budget process.
Right. So, and this isn't your only section, right?
I believe for levy support, yes, it is.
Well, you have some more, I thought I saw some more detailed things for DPW.
Well, we have sanitary and storm sewer, and we have the parking utility.
Okay, and those you do have, there's some things. So maybe, we just have to look at it, this was the first year, yep, we understood our intent. We understood 9 months ago that what we wanted was to see something, really laid out for the next 5 years. But we're starting to do it now, and I think there's a better understanding, I hope, of what we would hope to get next year.
Absolutely.
Okay. Other alders? Yes, Alder Johnson.
Steve, I just have a question regarding the the extra pavement project for common council.
Can you
I'm
turn
sorry,
him
I'm just
on?
missing the point of that. Could you just clarify
Could,
what
is
that
he on?
was?
Oh. It's not on.
That was not a request that we made. This was something that was added in by somebody else to provide an extra $500,000 in an effort to give us the ability to do more projects. But
Right.
without having the staff to complete them, we are programmed out for everything that we can get done this year. I can't spend that money. So we will be bonding $500,000 that's gonna go into a fund that's gonna sit there until 2020 before we can spend it.
Okay, so is that the excess from the capital reserve fund that we created from the wheel tax
No.
funding? That's different, okay. Where was this added? At what level?
It was an idea that came up, I'm not sure what committee, was it Improvement Services or?
No.
Was just someone that talked to you?
We didn't have,
Would the person who maybe had this idea want to talk to it? Alder
It was
Galvin?
at council.
yeah, the budget
Was
committee.
that council?
We're approving your capital projects money this year.
Yes, we were saying, I think the intent was, well, let's try to do more. Well, he's not going to be able to do more. We need to cut 1.3 million if we can.
Just helps me understand kind of the origin.
Yes, okay. All right, anything else for the first part, DPW general levy? Okay, the next section is fire. Okay, Chief, do you want to turn Chief Litton on? There we go.
I'm not in my normal seat, so okay,
Yeah.
got us, all right. Well, good afternoon. There are a couple of, I guess, I can run down each one of these requests if you would like, so I would be going to the document that I have. It would be the third page at the top under equipment replacement projects by year. Does everybody see where I'm at? That's the document that I have.
No, we're just gonna, yeah, we're gonna try to stay as
I don't
close
have
to
the
this
agenda.
document. You don't have that document. Okay. Otherwise, it's really hard. Yes. Director Grenier has something.
I don't have anything in that.
If you look under the DPW, what we have in building needs this year adds up to about $140,000. And then what we did was we just carried that $140,000 forward through each of the successive years. That's that very last line.
On what page, Steve?
On the top page. So that each year, you actually have put in $140,000.
We've put $140,000 in there
each year
as a placeholder.
as a placeholder, but it might be for different things.
Correct. What we've got actual projects listed this year, and again, as I identified, that tuck pointing has had somewhat of a shift in it.
Okay.
And what we've requested is $140,000 for each successive year. If you look, the last item that's under DPW is garage repair / equip. And that's blank
Yeah.
this year because the individual projects add up to 140. So what we did was we took that 140 and left it in there as a placeholder.
And your pavement projects, you obviously added to each year, right?
Correct.
Top line. So you're
Well, what
predicting
we're doing
those.
is we're establishing a relative budget and then accounting for inflationary costs with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve? So every year, your pavement projects goes up, but that's only to cover for inflation. So from 2019 to 2023, you are guessing that the same amount of work you're going to do is going to cost another $2 million. It's a hell of an increase over a 5-year period.
What we did was we took next year's program, the 2020 proposed program, and inflated that. So it's not necessarily the same as this year as what we're proposing to do in 2020.
And with your current staff issues, you're confident you can get these projects done?
Done, we'll contract it out.
I'm sorry, you cut out.
If we can't get it done in-house, we'll contract the work out.
Does that cost us more money when you contract?
Absolutely.
So taking care of some of your staff problems, contracting out would solve that, right?
We're already contracting a lot of our work out. stormwater ponds, we've got a handful of our streets that we're already contracting out.
We don't have the staff.
Well, some of it is because we don't have the staff, some of it is because we don't have the expertise. Projects like a Webster Street or any of the DOT projects, there are very particular requirements that the DOT has in order to complete those jobs. And our staff does not, we don't do enough of those projects to keep current on what the DOT regulations are. And if you miss one step, you pretty much sacrifice your funding. So we have to contract with consultants who do work in that DOT arena. So we're doing that with the design of stormwater facilities. We just haven't had the staff in-house historically to maintain that level of proficiency in designing stormwater ponds or proprietary devices or things like that. So we've contracted that out. Lift station design. We don't have the folks who know how to design the pumping systems and control panels and things like that go along with lift stations, so we contracted that out. So some of that stuff is included in these numbers, and again, what we're looking at is next year's 2020 program, what we've identified that, and then accounted for a similar level of effort to the 2020 program, and then accounting for construction cost indexing.
Roughly how much of our work do we contract out for DPW?
Oh, it'd be difficult to estimate. A lot of the subdivision work isn't necessarily contracted out. That's just done by a developer, by their consultant. I would have, if I had to estimate, I would say probably 80% of the work is done in-house.
Okay, so going on to fire and knowing, oh, I'm sorry, okay. Alder Strayer, we're back to DPW.
Yeah,
okay.
Just one quick question, thank
Alder
you.
Strayer.
Director Grenier, just on that, on the pavement projects, you have all 5 years, you have a number there. Is there a breakdown at this time as far as what that will go for, or is it too early to tell? Like a project setup, if you will, of roads and things that you'd be looking at, or does that go year by year?
A list of the individual streets that comprise that program, yeah. We have a target list. It hasn't been published yet because we haven't brought it through the Improvement Service Committee yet.
Okay, but that coming in a timely fashion?
It will be coming if a 5-year. Which one's the cart and which one's the horse? Well, what we're trying to do is in DPW, we're trying to be fiscally responsible, okay? As Director Ellenbecker has said at the last couple of meetings, we understand that there is a bonding limitation that this city is held by. It doesn't do me any good to come to you with $11 million worth of projects in a proposed each year for a 5-year plan for $55 million if we're limited to $8 million in bonding on it any given year. So what we are doing is we are looking to find, we think this is a reasonable number for DPW to be taking out of that bonding.
Turned off.
And what we will do is, when you folks establish what that, we will select the projects to maximize the amount of money that we have available to us.
Like I said, we're not here. I'm just stating that this is the first kick that we've had at this, a 5-year program, and there'll be some growing pains with it. But I think we're on the right track, and we just want to get some specifics as time goes on. So whatever that may take at the committee level or that, I think it's important that we all look at that. So
we put that list of streets out. The general public isn't going to realize that that's a draft and that that's subject to change based on how this 5-year program gets approved. They're going to look at that list of streets, and we're going to be held to that list of streets. Until we get the financials set up for it, I think it's my opinion, it's premature to put that list out there.
Okay, well, and that's fine. I just your opinion, and we need to move forward. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to remind us that we're on the first paragraph of page 2, and we've spent a half hour of our 2-hour meeting, 2.5-hour meeting. So I did notice that, and we are focusing mostly on 2019 because that's what we need to get done. So fire doesn't have anything in 2019 on this page. right? But so are there some questions for fire on the other years?
Comment, if you look at down the line there, it says flooring unspecified station 8. That's the Alloway station. That number can be taken out. We put it in our plan. I think finance just picked it up because it's on our spreadsheet. But that'll be a charge that'll go to the Village of Alloway, so that can be removed.
The 1490.
Anything throughout the document that has to do with Station 8 facilities, that's a charge to Alloway.
Yeah, okay.
So we can remove that from our...
Director Ellenbacher will remove that.
And I had not caught it before this meeting, otherwise I would have already talked to Diana about it.
Okay. And Alders, is this what you were more hoping to see, that over the period of 5 years, these are the various things? Yes. Okay. Okay. So we really probably do need to focus on 2019. Chief, is there something you want to say?
This is in either fleet or major equipment.
And you'll get to that.
Yep.
Yes.
I think actually it's good to focus on 2019, but this is a 5-year plan.
It is.
So we need to, I think, keep in mind that we need to focus on all those years, because there may be things that we move from 2019 forward in time, or things actually we look down the road and say, well, let's move it back and back to us now and get it done sooner.
Okay.
So I mean, as we try to balance this, because if we just do this year by year, still granting that every year things are going to come up, but it'd be nice to have a 5-year plan moving forward. So like Steve says, he knows this is what I'm going to have.
And I would agree with you, Alder Galvin. I just know that we are in the 11th hour. Here we are. It's June, and we need to get 2019 approved, and we may need to have another meeting then to look at, the rest of the 5-year plan, because we have to at least get that approved. And I do, but I agree. It doesn't mean this is the only meeting. Right. You could have more than one. Okay. All right. Parks and Rec is next. And Parks and Rec has some things, I think.
Yes, we do. I do have 2 proposals that could be removed from the CIP plan for 2019. So we did have $25,000 for our hockey rink board replacements. We feel as though we can put that into next year's request instead of this year. Last year we replaced 2 of the hockey rink boards. We need to replace the other 2 at some point in the near future, but it can wait a year. The other one would be $25,000 for Wildlife Sanctuary boardwalk deck lumber. A lot of our boardwalks throughout the forested area are aging. The deck boards need to be replaced. They're rotting out. What we're hoping to do, if we take it out of this year's CIP plan, is to put a little bit into our budget for 2020, and then add a little bit more each year into our budget, and take that out of the CIP plan and put it into our budget plan over multiple years. So those would be the 2 that, if you need to cut and reduce it, those would be the first 2 that I would propose from a park standpoint.
Okay, Alders, looking over parks.
Which one is that? What amount is that?
25,000 and 25,000. They're both near each other. Hockey rink and wildlife sanctuary. So we're up to 500,000, 550,000. All right. Any questions? This looks like a plan that you've looked over the years. You have some ideas. So this year you were asking for 1 million, and now you're asking for 950,000. Okay. Any questions for Director Ditchak?
I guess I would ask Dan, relocating the hockey rink, is that part of a bigger plan?
Yes.
Hockey rink relocation?
It's part of a bigger plan for that Little League complex down at Colburn Park. So as part of the other, one of the other requests for 2019 is $650,000 to build 2 Little League fields there. As part of this, we'd also like to do some parking lot improvements, move the playground, and create a kind of a better experience for the users out there, because the hockey rink is right on top of the ball field that's out there. So we want to there's some economies of scale by doing it all at once, with engineering all at once and bidding it out to one contractor versus multiple contracts over various years.
Okay. Yes, Alder Stor.
Thank you, Chair. Dan, I was just going to check on this, and I think we dealt with it at committee, but as far as the pickleball situation on the east side, you have some monies going toward that. As far as the west side goes, could you just reiterate where we're at with that?
So at the last park committee meeting last week, a group came forward and requested that we do a tournament pickleball facility on the west side of Green Bay. And so how we left it as the motion was to refer to staff to work with the pickleball group to select a location and come up with a cost estimate, and then possibly at least discuss whether or not we should add it to the CIP plan in future years. Right now that is not in the 5-year plan at all, but the request came forward at last week's park committee. It's something that the city or the Parks Department would be supportive of, because there is a lot of demand for pickleball courts in the city. They're popping up all over the place, and we do feel it's appropriate, but just to let you know, it's not in our 5-year plan right now.
Question, would you say that this would come in for 2020 then, generally?
Potentially. I know that that's what the pickleball group would desire.
All right. Yes, Alder.
Yeah, I have a question with the pickleball. How many people participate in that? Are there a lot of?
There are a lot. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but we have an annual tournament out at Edison Park, and we have hundreds of participants at that tournament. So it's a there's a lot of people doing it, and it's across the board in all different municipalities. Other municipalities are looking at building similar facilities.
Ask them to maybe do a little fundraising to help a little bit. I mean, I don't say the whole, 50,000, whatever you got on here, but for them, it's a buy-in when people.
Plan is we'll decide how much fundraising is going to be part of this package project.
Yes, Alder Vanderleest.
Colburn Park being closed for the year, are you doing extensive work as far as repairing the water line that's broke there? How about the financing for that part?
Could you talk into the?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
John, that's your gig.
Anyway, I just wondered how it's working with the.
Just pretend his face is the microphone.
All right.
You're too polite.
In other words, how it's going to work as far as the repair goes.
Luckily, about a month ago, we approved hiring a contractor to do the repairs out at Colburn Pool. So as part of the money we bonded last year for this project, or several years ago for this project, we already had a contractor under obligation to do the work. So it just means now at this point that they can start the work sooner.
People that would work at Colburn?
We did switch the lifeguard, so we actually had a lifeguard shortage, so this helped us in the short term. And the lifeguards that were scheduled at Colburn, we didn't fire any of them. They're just relocated to one of the other 2 pools. Yep.
All right. The next section is yours as well, right? The City Hall part?
Let me just look at my list for that.
We're looking at elevator replacement, boiler repairs, elevator service upgrade. That's what was.
Yep. So for this year's request, I wouldn't recommend making any changes to it. Those would be some real needs. I guess if you're really looking at removing some funding, then it would be the lowest priority would be engineering for electric service upgrades for $50,000. What we'd like to do for that one is hire a consultant to come in and analyze our electric needs for City Hall. We've been told for many years now from our city electrician that the electrical in City Hall does not meet code and really needs to be upgraded. So this is kind of the first step to hiring a consultant to doing that. And if you look in future years, we actually have money set aside in there to actually replace the electric in future years. But I'm not recommending any changes to it at this point.
Any questions? City Hall, okay. The next section is police, which is not for this year, but public safety building land acquisition. So, Commander Warwick?
Yeah, we initially had put in 50 million for the public safety building in 2019, but that got moved to 2022. But we just need to have some serious discussion on our direction of the public safety building, because if that does not come to tuition, then there are going to be some major improvements that are going to be needed with our current police department. So that being said, we have the $1 million with land acquisition for 2020, but if that doesn't come, this will severely change in the next coming 5 years.
Okay. Yes, Alder Strayer.
Captain Warwick, thank you for coming in.
He's commander now. He's
commander now. Sorry, excuse me. My apologies. Commander. Anyway, as far as looking at in the future with the safety building and such, and you're looking at acquisition and such, I know we had a consultant come in and look at potential sites and buildings and rehab and adaptive reuse type of things. Are we looking, I mean, is the push to look at something new, or are there still those opportunities to look at adaptively reusing an existing structure?
There's been no decision made on that. Both options are still on the table. Our group is still actively meeting with Cheryl and Celestine to determine a site and maybe a rehab in a new location. So that is definitely still on the table.
Okay. Ready to go on to other funding sources? And who would you like, Director Ellerbach, or just talk about TIF? That'd be you. Okay.
I can start, and anyone else can chime in that is aware of the situation. Again, I just want to remind you what the other funding sources is, and what that means is that those are items that just would not be used as general obligation borrowing, which means it would not affect the tax bill. These have other funding sources. So this item would be a TIF funded item. And this is currently our TIF 5, and that is our shipyard project to continue to move forward with the container park, the boardwalk, the marina, all in that area over in the shipyard.
And so similar to that, the parking repairs, that would come from the parking funds. That would come from parking funds, and the sanitary and storm would come from storm and sanitary funding. Okay, so
again, none of these items affect your tax bill. It does affect our total outstanding borrowing.
It does affect our borrowing. It does affect,
yes.
Okay.
But again, currently we are running, and even with our proposed borrowing, we are currently running at about 49% of what the state allows. And but every year our number that it divides into is our equalized value, and as that continues to go up, what we're borrowing keeps us still at 48% of our maximum in which we can borrow. So our total capacity is we're not exceeding, or we're only at 50% of what we need, what we are allowed to borrow.
All right.
So, they need to be on here, and those are our total outstanding, but does not affect your tax bill or the mill rate.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Alder Vanderlist.
On the $6.2 million, is that for 2019?
Which item?
The TIF 6.2 million.
Oh, yes, I apologize. Yep, there was that is the only one change that happened from the finance meeting until this meeting. The old packet you're seeing says 5 million. The new packet says 6.2. The 5 million again is the shipyard project in which I just explained, and the other 1.2 million is the borrowing that we need to pay for the associated parking lot that was approved 1 or 2 council meetings before. So that will be closing. If it doesn't close at the end of June, it'll close in July. So that project is moving forward. Again, that is going to be TIF funded, will not be on your tax bill. And so we will need a source to pay that purchase.
Purchase back.
I'd just like to ask, 5 million, are they going to use the total 5 million this, in other words, in the next season, in other words, in the 2020, would it be full-fledged development then as far as the 5 million? Would it all be used?
That's a good question. Actually, during our development meeting, that discussion did come up, and I do believe that there's a study out right now, or there is some kind of plan that's being looked at to see the timeline, the window, what proposal we would accept, and what the timeline would be. So at this point, we are asking for the $5 million, but there is a potential that, you know, in maybe within the next couple of weeks, we might know that maybe there's a portion that could get moved back to 2020, a portion in 19 and a portion in 20.
In other words, let's say you only take 4 million. If you're borrowing $1 million, you're looking at probably 4.25%, which is $42,000 per year. If you can delay whatever you can delay as far as that, you know, I think it's worth looking at.
Yep, and I said that is in the works right now. There is a timeline that's being put together, so we might have more information in the next couple of weeks.
All right, moving on to the next section, which is on page 4 of the document in the computer, the 5-year community investment program. That is, the project name is Sanitary and Storm. So I think we're back to Director Grenier. Are there any questions for Director Grenier? Looks like seems pretty explanatory. You do have a plan. There is a plan.
Right, with the sanitary and storm, that's actually infrastructure that goes along with the paving program. So, I mean, that's something I had a brief discussion about earlier. What we do with the program is when we've actually had a big shift in taking a look at projects, and with the ability to utilize our GIS system, we have now numeric ratings on our sanitary sewers, our storm sewers, and our pavements, where historically we've only had them on the pavements. And then we are also coordinating very closely with Green Bay Water Utility, and the attempt is to maximize a project, get as much work done at once when we do a project. So if we're doing a resurfacing or a reconstruction, replace all those utilities at the same time. To us, that makes sense. And historically, when somebody has been paying assessments on that street, they don't want that street carved up 5 years from now if something happens. However, okay, this is for consideration for the Common Council. If that's an approach you would like to see changed, we can look at that, where we just go in and we repave a street knowing full well that you're rolling the dice, okay? And 3 years from now, there could be a water main break underneath it, and a brand new street has to get tore up to replace the water main. We might be able to get more, especially residential streets under the resurfacing program. We may be able to do more resurfacing, but it's going to be taking that risk that the infrastructure underneath it goes away and that paving project gets adversely impacted.
So do you discuss this in improvement in services?
No, this is an internal discussion we have started with DPW staff on potentially bringing something forward. So I'm just getting it out there for some initial, so you folks can start thinking about it when we do bring it forward.
And I would think then that would go to improvement services.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. Steve, I was just wondering if DPW has looked into technologies like for sensors or such things that can be placed on underground structure, if you will, to find potential problems that might be out there. I don't know if you heard all that.
Whether we're looking at technologies to identify defects with our underground infrastructure?
Yeah, you know, I'm looking at it from a proactive standpoint. You know, a lot of times when projects, or if there's a problem of the water main break, it's already too late. But is there, you know, I know that there are technologies out there that some other cities have used that they use sensors to kind of help predict potential problems coming down the road. And I'm just wondering if there's something that we've looked at citywide in that vein.
Rather than using sensors, we're actually doing a lot of closed circuit television inspection of our sewers.
Okay. And you know, if that's the way we're going, that's the way we're going, but I'm just, you know, I know that technology changes all the time, and there's always that possibility of that new technologies might be out there that could help with this situation. So, that's just a comment. Thank you.
So what's listed here for sanitary and storm and for parking. Sanitary and storm, that reflects what our estimates are for the infrastructure associated with our pavement plan as currently proposed, utilizing the current methodology that we do. We might be able to change that pavement number going forward in the future if we change our methodology. The parking, we have simply set a $650,000 limit per year on our parking structures, and we will do as much work as that can support. That we've been doing that for as long as I've been with the department.
Okay, so Alder Lefebvre.
I'm on the Water Commission, and they are doing, they're a company that's doing, I think it's through satellites, they're doing a certain type of imaging that they can pinpoint problems with their water. It detects, you know, leakage and different things. I mean, it doesn't do exact pinpointing, but it narrows it down for them so they know where they should be looking at replacing. So that's another thing that the water department's doing.
Right. That works well for Green Bay Water Utility because it detects leaks flowing out. Most of our leaks actually flow in. And part of that technology was actually developed when they were looking for water on Mars. Yeah. So now they're adapting that technology for use here with satellites, and it actually requires that the water what they're looking for is chlorides in the water. So it has to be treated. So if you talk to the water utility, they cannot use it on their raw water feed coming from Lake Michigan because the water hasn't been treated yet. You won't be able to isolate that because it can't distinguish that water from groundwater. However, once it's been treated, then they can isolate on the...
It's very interesting. Alder Vanderleest.
Question for Mr. Grenier. Of the $7.654 million, is the Green Bay packaging corridor, is that part of the project there as well as far as the improvements that are going on there in that area? Is some of this money figured for that area as well?
No, I don't believe any of that's for packaging. This is for the other streets in our program.
So that's a total separate entity then?
Well, I don't believe we're paying for any of the improvements up there at packaging.
In other words, it's not affiliated with the Webster corridor?
Those are two different areas.
Well, there's storm sewer associated with Webster, but that's part of Webster. Sanitary sewer on Webster was all completed last year. And any of the work that's associated with getting the stormwater away from the packaging site up to the settling pond, that's all the county contribution. That's not city.
Yes.
Director Grenier, for parking, the monies that we see there are all generated from what, parking fees, renting spaces, overnight parking tickets, or those kind of violations. All your other requests here show an increase, and I'm going to assume that with storm and sanitary it's due to inflation. Yet with parking you say it's $650,000. Does that mean that by 2022 we're going to be doing less repairs?
That's exactly what it means. However, what we're also looking at is a lot of these repairs, we're hoping that the frequency of the repairs also comes down. You're dealing with essentially chloride intrusion into the concrete, and it attacks the reinforcing steel that's in that concrete. So after we've repaired an area, you don't have to come back and repair it as frequently. Also, through the use of the sealants that we use on top of those concrete surfaces in the parking ramps, we're helping to slow some of that. So even though, again, what we're doing is we're holding a steady dollar value and getting as much done as we can with that dollar value, and it seems to have been working very well for the last 10 years. I see no reason to really change that process.
Okay, so the next section is something you just talked about, right? The associated parking lot? Is that what, did I skip something? No, parking lot repairs, and next part is the future development site associated parking lot for the 1.2 million. You already.
Yes, we already discussed that.
We discussed that.
Correct.
Right, and then going down further, the shipyard phase 2, which we just discussed, and DPW pavement, which we discussed. Oh, all the way to page 22 I get to go?
So what you're doing is you're looking at all the additional pages for the summary that we just looked over.
Got it.
So there's some additional information that was supplied by the department heads, and again, some of those pages we want to get additional information on, but this was how much we had pulled together at this point.
Okay.
And yep, and then you can jump to, at this point now, we would be looking at equipment replacement items.
So now that actually starts on this before page 22. On mine, voting equipment, do we have to do that?
Yes,
Yes.
I can talk to it.
Okay.
If Chris Teske walks in, she can step in. What this is it's called Express Vote, and it is something that was recommended by the county that we move forward with buying some new equipment. It will replace some of our current equipment. We would have to buy 32 Express Vote machines. We would need 2 spares, and it is it comes in at $132,000. We took off the trade-in value, so we are requesting $120,000. Our other option is to stay with the auto marks, which is we told the county we couldn't afford these pieces of equipment at this point, and because they truly wanted us to move forward, there's a lot of advantages for the county to have everybody on the express votes. They said, okay, that's fine. If you don't want it, then you have to go and pay, get your own auto marks, the old machines coded, and you have to do your own media. So we looked at all our options, and option 1, if we had to code and get some discs burned, it would be over a 5-year, it would be at $222,000. If we had to get some other coding done, it would be $234,000. Or if we bought the equipment over a 5-year, it comes down to $158,000. So we really had no option other than we have to move forward with the county and purchase 34 new pieces of equipment called Express Vote.
Okay.
And they are expecting that to be done for the 2020 election.
Okay.
Diane, I'm on page 20.
Go to 22.
And see, it shows at the top that I'm on page 20. Huh.
Pam, are you everybody's on the
Equipment
current, the new
replacement, the voting
finance?
equipment. Isn't that page 20?
Keep on. Go to 22. Just use your thing.
Oh, I see. I could use my thing, this thing.
Nope, mine's 22.
Well, that is, but we've skipped a bunch of equipment
Mine's
stuff.
22:45. Yours is 22.
Are you looking at
We're at-
today's finance?
I'm looking at today's.
Agenda? Yep, it is.
Are
It's
you
on
looking
page
at today's or
22.
last week's?
No, I'm looking at today's.
Seeing the same page?
Okay, so on my page 22, equipment replacement fund expenditure police is what's on my page 22. Is not correct, right? Wow. Okay.
One moment.
So let me see. Maybe I'm on the wrong. Although everything else has been correct.
Scroll up because it's going to be blue.
Okay.
Yep. Can you click in that? This. There you go. Is that what we're looking at?
I don't understand, but okay. All right, so equipment replacement projects by year. We just went over the voting equipment, and then the next part is fire, right? All right. So, is there anything here, Chief Litton, that you could see holding off on? It starts with the Gator 3 special events. Can you find that?
Yeah, I've got it.
All right.
My commentary to that is that there's nothing on this list that I am able or willing to hold off on. There will be some changes on the fleet. When we get to that, I will also tell you that when you see outfit a training vehicle, that should actually say a high water vehicle, which is related to our continuing saga with high water levels in our streets and neighborhoods.
Okay.
The Gator 1 special event right below that for the 2020 budget, that should be removed in 2020 because that's what's actually being replaced in 2019 under the Gator 3 special event. So I'm not sure how we got a kind of a transposition there,
Okay.
I think.
Diana's taking notes on that.
So Gator 3 is 30,000, Gator 1 is the same thing at 28,000?
The projection that's in 2020 was probably the original projection when we put this list together. The updated number is the 30,000 in the 2019 column.
I would pick Gator 1 just because it's cheaper.
Well, realistically, by the time we get done doing the things we have to do to it, that's the number, 30,000. That is correct. In the 2020, the Gator 1 special event, we've got 3 special event vehicles because of the massive amounts of special events that we have. We've replaced 2 of the 3. This third one here is from 2002, so it is way overdue to be replaced. And then we won't be replaced. We'll be good on those vehicles for probably the next 15 years.
The 45 sets of turnout gear. Now this is what this is their battle gear for going into fire, right? And is this something that, well, you've got well over 45 men, so is this something that expires like bulletproof vests do?
Yeah, so our turnout gear essentially is rated for 10 years of use. So basically every year we have to replace 45 sets. And what happens is it's front line, it's their first set, so to speak, for the first 5 years. And then at year 6, it becomes their backup set of gear because we have multiple times throughout the year where they'll be on a structure fire. And because of the carcinogens that are in the gear and the new standards, we have to wash that gear and put it through gear extractors, and that process takes about 6 hours. So they have to have a second set of gear because there are multiple times when they're running multiple events where they have to have a second set of gear. So that's how the rotation is. It lasts for 10 years. So it's front line for 5, back line for the next 5, and then it has to be disposed of.
Then how come we don't have 82,000 every year for 45 sets of gear, or 40, or whatever you estimate it would cost for 45 sets?
General operating budget, and over the last year or 2, it got moved out of our general. It has always been in our general operating budget as a reoccurring expense. Okay. It got moved last year into the bonding, and so it's just we do need to put it in there for the next 5 years if we're going to keep it in bonding.
So we should see next 5 years. So that needs to be changed.
We'd like to see it back in our regular budget.
Too. I mean, because it doesn't last really the amount of time that we're bonding it for. I mean, about 10 years is.
10 years is right, I think, marginal. I mean, it's right at the number, I think, from what direction we've been given.
So you're hoping to put it back into?
After this coming budget year, we'd hope that
okay,
it.
That's not what
right now.
Said. Yeah.
Right, there's a lot of things we're going to be looking at. I think that used to be in the general budget.
Right. That should be moved back. Yeah.
Okay. Exercise equipment for $75,000. Now, I'm just going from police experience. All our exercise, and I realize you have different buildings, and you can't tell them, get on your bike and go down to the one main place. But all of our exercise equipment we receive through donations or through fundraising. And so I'm just wondering if $75,000 is really a must-have, or is it something that you could do like the police department has done and gone out and looked for donations or done internal fundraising for equipment?
We have over time, we have 7 facilities that have to have exercise equipment. And over time, that's exactly what has happened. There's a hodgepodge of stuff that's been picked off the garbage piles, essentially. And so we've got a physical therapist that works with both police and fire department who's done an evaluation of our equipment and his standard training program. And so he went to every station and has recommended to us the bare minimum standard equipment that should go from station to station in order to be able to use his training to help reduce our workers' comp injuries. So he actually went out and did a complete ergonomic study of everything that we do, both on the fire and the EMS side. He actually rode with our guys for 3 24-hour shifts, and he's put together this program, and it's been very, very well received. But he is recommending and kind of imploding us to go out and get this gear and get it replaced. So some stations are using stuff that somebody using their home. It's not commercial grade equipment. This stuff is pounded on. It's just like everything in a fire station. It's used 24/7, and we can keep on doing that, but we're going to keep on having. I think the return on investment here is that we get a regimented training program for everybody, and we're hoping that reduces our workers' comp on the back end.
Well, and I guess then I would ask you, again, I'm asking you to look at outside the box of what you traditionally do. I mean, the police department can give you a list of the people that they get commercial grade equipment donated from. Another thing we did was we looked at, what was it? What's the organization here for injuries? Workman's Comp, not Workman's Comp. What's that? Not CIVMIC. Anyway, that's how we got our money for our tasers. Was they figured that tasers would reduce officer-involved injuries, and so they took the money out of their fund to get us equipment like that. Oh, was that CIVMIC? That was out of work comp. It was out of work, but, okay. And I understand the goal. I mean, certainly we can't have firefighters, you know, the more guys you have on workman comp, the more load it puts on everybody else, and there's a cost effectiveness here. But I'm just asking again, if there's a chance you could take a look at some other revenues, and like I said, the police department even has done fundraising amongst their own members to raise their money for some of this equipment that they use in their gym. I mean, we're trying to make some cuts here. And when I look at it, I understand you make a perfectly good sense, but again, we're asking everyone to take a hard look at some of this stuff. I'm just wondering if you could take another hard look at this and put some feelers out there and see if there's some changes could be made.
Be able or willing to compromise this position at this point. We've been doing this for 20 years of just going and garbage picking, and it's time to change that in the fire department. There is a potential donor out there for the money, but it's a donor that I've been working with for 6 months and it hasn't come to fruition yet. We're hoping, but I've been working at it hard for 6 months, and so my contribution to the reduction will be in the fleet area, and it's a substantial reduction. So I guess before you ask me to compromise this, I'll tell you what that other thing is when we get to that.
All right.
I'm talking about a $450,000 change.
That's a lot of weight equipment.
So I'm not willing to compromise this exercise equipment at those stations at this point. We've been doing it for far too long.
I can certainly understand that. So maybe in the meantime, future going forward, you could talk to Kevin or Paul, and you know, maybe they could give you some other avenues to look at for the future. All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions for fire? We'll go on to info technology. Who wants to speak? Does anyone want to speak to that? Are there questions?
We have outdated phone server, and we really need to upgrade our phones. It is something that's been on the list for quite a while. Mike, our IT administrator, had put it a request in for 2019 and 2020, $65,000 each year. We talked to him. At this point, realistically, we probably wouldn't do it in 2019. It'd probably be a 20 and 21 project, so we were looking to really slide the 65 over really a year. Okay. So it would be in 20 and 21 instead of in 19. So that 65,000 right now, we're going to move back a year. Doesn't mean we don't need to do it. It's just timing. It's already getting this late in the year.
Okay. Here's another 65,000. Thank you. Parks, Rec, Forestry. There's a radio system. More. Any questions for Director Ditchett on that?
So Dan, if I understand correctly, there's more. It's literally shot. It can't even be repaired. Is that correct?
Pretty rough shape. It has over 2,900 hours on it. It's from 2004. It's in really bad condition, yes.
And the radio system, that's something that you said.
Yeah, the radio system, we are, I believe, the last department in the city that uses the old analog radios. All of the other departments have switched to digital, and so it's time for us to do that also. We're having a hard time finding replacement parts, and we're just piecing the radios together when we're repairing them. So.
All right. Police. Police is looking at handheld radios, mobile radios, security camera replacement. Any questions for the police department?
How many units are we talking about with $70,000 worth of handheld? So this is part of that 20 a year?
Yeah, so 20 in 2019, 20 going forward.
$2,000 plus for a unit?
Yeah. Yeah, probably closer to 3.
I guess we shouldn't be throwing them at people anymore, should we?
No, we've stopped that many years ago, right. God willing.
All right. And then mobile radios, what are those?
Those are the squad car radios. And this is just the life expectancy of these radios. They wear out. And we're just trying to replace them as they wear out.
How many are we getting for $20-some thousand?
5. 4 or 5.
But they're good for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, no.
What does that mean, 20/year next to mobile radio?
20, so that's quantity.
Quantity.
Okay.
So that's 20 a year, and also handheld is 20 a year. Handheld is
20, mobile is 5.
Mobile is 5.
I think you've got this
This is not correct on here.
It's correct on this one.
Okay.
And what security cameras are we replacing?
Those, I believe those are just the updates to the cameras around the city.
We have a certain intersection.
Yeah, like in the shift commander's office, we got all those cameras around the city.
Do we get any Homeland Security money for some of those, seeing as that's where they came from originally?
Originally, yes, but I'd have to defer to Paul or Mike on that one.
No.
No.
We haven't in a long time. We received that one large port security grant back 1.4 million, and ever since then it's been very slim pickings.
The port's not that much of a risk anymore.
We haven't got anything from since 2011 with that grant.
All right, so now, are we back to voting equipment again? That's what I'm...
No, so now that's those are your
details. So
summary.
Okay, so we can move. Yeah, what color? Yeah, what page? What is it?
Green. 39 for everybody but Kathy.
All the way to 39.
Probably a couple pages before for you, Kathy. Probably like 36, 37 for you. Page 36 or 37 for you. 36.
Do we want green? Are we doing
Yes,
green? Green on here is mine is on page 39.
39, yes.
Okay. Fleet replacement projects, page 39 on the computer. And
There we go.
we guys ready? What's community development? What is that? Oh, that's Cheryl's. Oh, yours. Oh, okay.
So we
There's
don't have a
nothing there.
request, it looks like,
Right.
for 2019, although I'll tell you, let's put this on the books. If there's any extra money laying around, we do need inspection vehicles. So we've got them for 20 onward, 2 a year. We have 3 right now that are behind schedule to be replaced and 1 that's in pretty bad shape. So for 2019, we don't really have anything on this budget.
Okay.
But
Cheryl, who maintains your vehicles?
Fleet.
And I believe with the vehicle rotation plan, there has historically, at least, some of the vehicles rolling through City Hall have been in a trickle-down formation. So some of the sedans from DPW get used within DPW for a while, then they get moved on down to, okay, because we have not been replacing our vehicles, we have nothing to rotate down.
Right, it's the same thing with PD. They haven't been replacing them, and so they have nothing to hand down either.
That's why Cheryl's vehicles are getting worse, because we're not sending our stuff to them.
If we're replacing other vehicles, just keep us in mind, because we'll take the other ones as well. So.
All right.
Just a real quick question, police department. When we confiscate vehicles or they're forfeited, can we use them within the city for other city departments?
I mean, once we accept, you know, if we take him in like an asset forfeiture, you mean?
Yes.
Or a voluntary transfer? Yeah, once we assume ownership, yes, we could do that.
Do we do that as often as we were at one point?
The asset forfeiture guidelines they've changed over the time. It's not as easy as it once was. We still do take an occasional vehicle in, but we've had a lot of success on the 1033 program, where that's the government vehicles that we can go get for free. We just have to pay the transportation costs.
So could those vehicles be used for other departments?
The 1033, no. That has to be strictly for the police department.
Okay, so
but for the asset forfeiture vehicles that we bring in, yes.
If we use the vehicle for a police department vehicle, we could transfer a police department vehicle over to another department then?
In essence, yes.
And I understand those vehicles are nowhere near new, but I mean, it might be better than something they currently have.
Well, I can promise you we don't trade in any good vehicles. They're probably to the max of their life.
Okay. So how many vehicles are we getting in asset forfeiture? Do you know?
I would maybe 1 a year. I mean, and that would be high. It's not as fruitful as it once was.
1033.
But that's for the police department only, and we just got a big truck that we work with the fire department on. We're looking for a different van for more of the snipers. So they're out there. It's just a matter of getting them.
Okay.
All right, so now we're at fire. This will be exciting, Chief. Your vehicles.
You can see the listed vehicles there. So that very first column, the 3 staff vehicles, those are holdovers from 2018 that did not happen. Ambulance 471 speaks for itself. The next vehicle down, Hazardous Materials Squad 452. That's a current 1991 tractor trailer, so it's 28 going on 29 years old. It is wore out and not efficient and doesn't work for our operation. So as a part of Oliver Galvin's imploring us to look at other alternatives, if you look at, so I implored my staff to figure out in a very short period of time, like what else could be done. And so if you look at that number of $890,000 there, so I've sent a correspondence to Diana to change that number to, we're going to split the cost, basically. So we're going to take, I need $900,000. So that's the bad news. It's an extra $10,000. So we're asking for $450,000 in this year to get the order in place and to make the down payment on the vehicle. And then it will not come in until early 2020. So the other $450,000 would have to be guaranteed, like number 1 on the list, for next year's bonding. And then if you look down that column, it has Hazmat Squad 451. Eliminate that number. I've implored them to take the 2 vehicles and make it work into 1. So that's where the extra $10,000 in costs came in. So if you look in the 2020 column, Hazmat Squad 451 will eliminate that cost in 2020. And then the last number in the 2019 column there is a staff vehicle. That's the one that's scheduled to be replaced in 2019. So there's four total staff vehicles. And that goes to our training division, to our fire marshals, various staff members.
I just have to explain to Kathy. So they're taking $890,000.
Right.
They're going to make that $900,000, cut it in half, and they're going to transfer that other $450,000 to 2020. But then they're going to eliminate Hazardous Materials Squad 451 for $347 and change.
Vision down to 1. I implored them to make it work in 1 vehicle so that we can eliminate stock and eliminate that cost in 2020. They've worked very hard with the various vendors that are out there. We don't have one in mind, but we did have to contact a couple of them to say, can we make this work? And the answer was yes. Can we make it fit in this budget? The answer was, if you modify some things of what you're asking for, yes. So that's what I told them to do.
All right, thank you.
So that's my $450,000 contribution plus the other mistakes. So we're about $480 less than what we had in the books there before.
Okay. Okay. Any more questions about the fire vehicles? No?
I would just, again, just add into this that, you know, we've got this list projected out to 2030. Our mechanics look at it every single year when they're doing our preventive maintenance on this. Our mechanics are all emergency vehicle certified, and sometimes these vehicles will move just based on what the mechanics tell us, but everything that's on our list out to 2030 is based on actual experience and use and what we know is going to need to be replaced when. So that's how and sometimes we can extend, like if a fire engine at Station 4, we can extend it out a little longer because it doesn't get as much use. The fire engine at Station 2 goes every, it needs to go about every 7 years. So I think that's one of the things that, needs to be said. The other thing that I would tell you that, going forward, I don't think we can do this in 2019, but in 2020, I've talked to Diana and I made this comment at our staff meeting that, perhaps we should start looking at vehicle leasing programs for all of our fleet. There are many areas in the country that use a lease maintenance system, and depending on interest rates, you got to watch the interest rates on it, but it can be shown that it's more cost effective to lease vehicles, even in the fire service, than it is to buy them and then try to maintain them and having them out of service on a regular interval. That's something that takes some pretty deep study, but there's a lot of research out there on that. So I would just throw that out there as a side comment.
Well, that's, we should all be looking for ways to, we don't want to cut where it hurts. That makes no sense. And you can see what it's you know, the corner it's gotten us into, where we cut to the point where we're bonding for 10 years for a 5-year car. That makes no sense. And so now we're trying to make up for that. But going forward, you know, looking at other avenues, sharing resources, and that kind of stuff, or leasing, or any of the other kind of stuff that's out there, certainly makes sense if we're still getting the biggest bang for our buck, but we're getting quality equipment for our people. So I thank you.
Okay. So we can move on then to the Parks, Rec, and Forestry vehicles. Any questions, or Director Ditchett, you want to just go over what you have?
Sure. I would, okay. After reviewing this with our staff and our mechanics, the very first line item, the 3/4 ton regular cab 4x4 with Tommy lift for $35,000. We could postpone that till next year if we wanted to. What that is there's a forestry truck, there's a flatbed truck that we use on a seasonal basis, basically to haul trees to and from job sites. We would replace that flatbed truck with this more useful pickup truck 4x4 with the Tommy lift. So it just it's a desire, or it's a need by our staff to basically increase productivity and usage of that vehicle, but we can wait a year for it if we needed to.
Okay.
I wouldn't have any other recommended changes at this point.
Are there any questions from the other alders? No. No. All right. Then police. I know the police have been looking for squads, and they've been putting off getting their squads, but go ahead. Who would like to speak to that?
Our fleet is in dire straits, and we've went to a 4-year cycle. Just to give you some perspective, we have 82 vehicles. 27 of those are beyond their replacement schedule, so that's about 33% of our fleet that is beyond our life expectancy. We anticipate that there will be a higher amount of replacement cost or repair costs for those vehicles. That being said, we've anticipated 15 vehicles a year going in for the next 5 years to make up for that, and that is with a 4-year cycle. Previously, we were on a 3-year cycle, and then the general vehicles, those are our detective vehicles, are other vehicles that are in our fleet. We don't want to compromise that in any means, because we went down that road a couple years ago when our SRO vehicles were not even passing salvage inspection, and they were driving them. So that being said, though, we do have 15 squad cars a year. Our mechanics do build them from beginning to end. They build them about one car a month. So in 2019, if they build them one a month, that's 8 or 9 this year. And as long as we maintain that 15 vehicles a year, we could bond for more vehicles in 2020, just as long as we keep the total amount of vehicles.
The SUVs versus the cars, are you switching over that way, or are you not switching over?
Well, we have a complement of SUVs and Chargers. We are going more towards the SUV route. No, we've always stuck to the 4 years. Between 110, 120. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for the police department?
What kind of general vehicles are we talking about?
These are our detective vans, our SRO vehicles, our vehicles are just our general fleet vehicles, anything other than a black and white. Trip cars.
When you say build out, that means you need to take all the equipment out of the old one, get a new one? Is that what you mean?
Correct.
So it takes a month for each vehicle?
Month for one vehicle, yes.
So how are you going to
so how are you going to do 15? Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Let's just do the math on
that. Right. I mean, but there's no, we could go down. We could go down to that one a month, but keep in mind though, that won't get us to the point where we need our fleet to be.
No, we're saying, can they build out more than
Oh, yes, we can. We just have to farm it out.
Can. Okay, so you contract it out.
Yes.
Okay.
What does that run us?
Oof.
We've never done it. So So
we've never done it.
We've always done them in-house.
Get the fleet back up to where it should be. You're saying you'd have to farm out some of this work.
Correct.
And is that figure factored in?
No, not that I know of.
So help me understand.
Not for outside work, no.
All right. How are you going to do that?
Well, wait, yeah.
How are we going to build the cars?
Yeah, if you only can do one a month, that would be 12. And
Right.
You want 15,
Well, then we would have to farm that out to another company to build those squad cars.
but you don't have any money in, or is that going to be from a different budget? That'll be from your.
We don't have anything budgeted for that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but unless things have changed and it's been 5 years almost, I used to see squad cars from other departments in our garage pay being worked on by our mechanics. Are we still doing that?
Now, I haven't seen that in quite some time. We don't. Our staff is buried as it is, so we would not take on extra work for that because we've got more work for them to do than they have the time allotted for them in a work day.
I guess I'm not comfortable saying go ahead and buy 15 cars if we're going to have to take and spend money to have them set up, especially if that money is going to be turning into be quite a bit of money. And we don't know what that cost is yet. I guess my other thing is when we buy our vehicles, do we get a better price buying 15 or a dozen at a time like we did that one time? We actually bought them a year in advance, or are we better off buying them one at a time?
We bought them in a year in advance because they were canceling the Crown Vics, and we wanted to have another year of the Crown Vics. But as far as the purchasing of those vehicles, that I don't know.
Do you have an idea?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, just talking to Rick, because of the demands the fleet is presenting to us right now, because of the demands that the fleet is presenting to us right now, we can only do one a month.
Yes. I see where you're
because
going.
they're being pulled from working on those cars to repair
right.
what we have to put out on the road right now. So I would assume that we could probably do more, 2 to 3
weeks, not bothered, left alone. You go and do your thing.
So if you have better, newer vehicles, you have less repairs, and then they have more time to work on the new vehicles.
Right.
But would you buy them all at once, or you buy them over a period of time then? I mean, just like what Alder Galvin was saying, I mean, they would just sit there for a while until you could.
Some of them, yes.
Black and whites?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you do. When you put in the requisition, you get them all at once to keep the price down and all that. So.
Okay. Yes, Chief.
I would just add that, in a circumstance in the fire department, when we get into that circumstance, I just authorize some additional overtime. I just tell our mechanics, you're staying until you get this done. So it's much cheaper than farming it out to somebody else in that situation. I don't know how many hours a week those guys are working in a PD, but if it's feasible, it's cheaper to just authorize overtime and build it into your, build that extra, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 into your overtime budget when we get to the 1920.
I actually had that thought myself.
Yep.
I wondered about that. You're doing that right now. They're already doing it.
Oh, just on the amount of repairs that are needed, the new in-car video, and the new computers that were purchased.
And this is another idea besides the overtime is, could we not hire some of our old mechanics back that have retired as a contract employee? Pay them a set wage, no benefits, anything like that until the job's done. You hire them just for the contract of getting these cars up to speed.
Well, there's a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have some good ideas. Yes, Alder Vanderleest.
For the chief, I think, getting the 15 cars, whatever you're going to order, I think is smart. Because you have a few accidents that you don't anticipate. It's nice to have a spare car sitting around that they can put in service if needed. Because I know you've had a few of them smashed up in the past. And I would say stay with the amount of cars you're getting. And if you got a couple sitting in the lot for a little bit, that's fine. Because you don't know when you're going to need it. You might need it tomorrow. So that would be my thoughts on the vehicles that you're purchasing. Stay with the amount you're getting. And
how does the warranty work on those? If you take it and it sits on the lot for a year, is that 1 year out the window?
100,000 for the powertrain, and then 3 years, 36,000 for the. It just like your normal car that you buy.
If it sits there for a year, you're out a year of that.
Yes.
Is there a way that we could just extend that warranty out? I mean, buy the 15, pay them for them, but work out a way that we take them when we're ready for them, just to get the biggest, you know, the most out of that warranty.
That I don't know. We could work with purchasing on that. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that can be done when we put in the requisition.
What we're doing. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I think we're through, and I've kind of been keeping track. I don't know how close I am. Do we have train? Oh, there was. Did I miss transit? The buses. Oh, okay. Anybody have a question on the buses or transit? Nothing? Okay. All right. So, as I've been keeping track, were we about 200,000 short? Is that about where you at? 210 is what I came up with. What did you come up with? 223.
Right, our goal was to be around $8 million.
Okay.
Yes, we're sitting at, it went from 9.3 million down to about 8.2 million.
So what? How much per penny? I mean, if you add on the mill rate, how much is that?
For borrowing, actually, Steve helped calculate it. That was about for every, I think, 450,000 we borrow, it was an extra penny, I think is what he said. So at this point, I'm going to say it's about less than a penny.
It's less than a penny.
For an extra 200,000
right.
To be borrowed over a 20-year, or some of these could be 10, some could be 20-year, but.
Okay, that's, I think we came pretty close. So still council is going to have to approve this, but we're very close to the 8 million that we wanted to be at. Does anyone have any other comments on this? Do we need to take some action, Diana, at this
If you would
point?
like this information, the 2019 borrowing request to move on to council, you would want to at least approve the 2019. I don't believe that we're ready to approve a 5-year capital improvement plan.
Right.
I think there would be more discussion that you would want to have on that item, and then you can also recommend if there's more information you need, like if you want more details on useful life, which ones are past replacement, priority, you know, some additional information. We can continue to get that information built into the 20 to 23 years.
Okay.
I guess I would make a recommendation too, because some of the money we saved here we did by just moving it down the road.
Yeah.
Which means we're going to face the same bullet for the next 4 years. But I guess if you have a better feeling of what we're looking for and some of the ideas that we're, you know, let's, again, thinking outside the box, and I'm not saying you folks don't do that. I think you've done very good jobs running your departments. But there's always something new, fangled out there, like you were talking leasing and things like that, that I think we need to continuously be looking at and not just being sedentary in how we just, here's the budget, let's do it, pass it on, and now council's going to kick the hell out of us and tell us to cut everything. But if we could be looking at other ways of saving money or getting those monies that we need, you know, because eventually the idea would be to move some of this stuff back into the general budget, and so we're not getting pounded on this bonding. But as this moves forward, the plan is, Barb, I think that we're going to have them both working more closely. The actual budget and the bonding will be working a lot closer together.
Right.
So we'll be discussing it all at about the same time. So we'll have a 5-year budget plan, 5-year bonding plan. So those will hopefully work a lot more, work a lot better together.
So we're going to have to gear up for the 2020 bonding pretty soon, because that's when the budgeting has been October, November. Yes, Alder Vanderleest.
You think that 200,000 that we're short out of the general fund, that would keep the bonding at the rate you're talking?
No.
We would have no funding source. If you're talking about 2019, we only have a contingency of under $90,000, and most of that's been obligated. I'm not sure where we would take the money from.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion then, if someone would like to make a motion to, yes, you may.
Pam just reminded, we do have another finance meeting prior to the next council meeting.
Okay.
July 9th.
9th? I think the 9th, right?
So you have two things. One, you could just take this and move this on to next council meeting, or you could ask for, if you wanted additional information brought back to the next finance meeting, because we will not have another council meeting that will address this item before the July council meeting.
So was there more information that was needed?
I
felt we've got a lot of questions answered.
We've got 2/3 of the alders here. And no one's expressing any need for any more information. I'm comfortable with what we have here.
Okay. I'm comfortable with what we have. Okay. So I'd like to see a motion.
I'll make a motion
to approve
the 2019 bonding.
As discussed. Okay, motion by Alder Galvin, second by Alder LaFave, to approve the 2019 budget bonding as discussed. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, then we'll, if there's nothing else, I don't think there is anything else on the agenda. I will look for a motion to adjourn. All right. And I missed informational, which we just said, but the next Finance Committee meeting will be held Tuesday, July 9th at 4:30 p.m. Motion adjourned by Alder Galvin, second by Alder Dorf. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.